Welcome to episode 3 of the Body Smart Fitness podcast. Today we're going to be asking the all-important question, what is the best diet? It's the Body Smart Fitness podcast, episode number
3.
Here we go. My name's Jaymie Moran. Your name is?
Jaymie Moran.
And we are from Body Smart Fitness. And today I've got a really important question to ask you. But before you wince at me, I know this is the question that, when people say, if I had £1 for every time I'm asked that question, I think you'd probably be a billionaire. Are you ready? Drum roll. Jaymie Moran from Body Smart Fitness. What's the best diet?
Oh, God. You are right. I have been asked that question hundreds, thousands of times and still get asked it because it is like the $1 million question. Unfortunately, there isn't one.
So first of all, take us back. What is a diet? What does it actually mean?
So a diet is the foods that we habitually eat, but a lot of people will see a diet as a way of losing weight.
Yeah.
When really the diet is just the foods that we habitually eat on a continual basis.
Whether you're losing weight or not.
Whether you're losing weight or not, everyone's on a diet. From the day you're born to the day you die, you're on a diet.
But not necessarily to lose weight, gain weight. A lot of people won't even think about what they eat and what they put in their mouth. They'll turn to foods because, oh, that looks tasty, or, oh, I fancy that, or, oh, I like the taste of that and the flavour of that. But when it comes to finding a quote-unquote diet to lose weight, what's the best diet to lose weight then? I'll change my question.
Okay, so the best diet to lose weight is going to be one that you can adhere to and stick to until you've achieved the desired amount of weight loss or fat loss. So you've got to look at how much weight do I need to lose? How much weight can I realistically lose each week? And then how long is that going to take? And then can I adhere and stick to that diet, for that length of time? But they're not normally the questions that people are asking. People are going, how can I lose 20 pounds in 2 days? Because
that is true. That is what we want.
Yeah, everyone wants the right here, right now, the quick fix, and we'll take ridiculous things in order to make that happen instead of looking at it, a little bit more realistic. Because if it was that easy, there wouldn't be, an obesity epidemic in a lot of the, in our country, in America, and lots of other places in the world, which there is, and it's a real problem, and it's very complicated. It really is, and there isn't necessarily a best diet to go on. It is really finding what's going to work for you. And like I said, allow you to adhere to that diet and that process to allow you to see the results. But I think, as we spoke on the previous podcast, the more important part, and it's the part that a lot of people have never even thought about, is what am I going to do after the diet? So if you've got 10 pounds to lose, 20 pounds, 50 pounds, 100, 200, 300 pounds to lose, it doesn't matter how much weight you've got to lose. There's going to come a point where you're no longer in a fat loss phase. Even if it takes you 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years, after that point, your weight loss journey, your fat loss journey ends. You are no longer on a diet. So what then? And if you've gone on this overly restrictive, cookie cutter, like on plan, off plan mentality, or try to take shortcuts to get there, the data shows that the likelihood is that you will either not achieve the desired weight loss or fat loss, or you might be able to persevere through, but once you get there, it will be that difficult and that hard that you will immediately revert back to old habits and old behaviors, and the weight will quickly come back on, and then often some more as well.
So you talked there about adherence. And so sticking to it and there being an end date. We do that though, don't we? We often will say, I'm doing this for 28. I've done it myself. I'm doing a 28-day detox. Yeah. I'm doing a 6-week shred. I'm doing a 12-week transformation. Do you remember when I did that for Body Power?
I do.
Because you were my personal trainer at that time.
Yeah.
But for me, and I can remember it, the 7th of May was the end date. And as soon as the 7th of May was coming, that was going to be, that was it. All my problems were going to be solved.
That comes down to your motivation. So you have extrinsic, is that right?
Yeah.
Right? And intrinsic motivation. So extrinsic is, I want to look good for this holiday in 6 weeks, or I'm going to do this competition and be done in a set amount of days. So that's like an extrinsic motivation of you're doing it to look or be or feel a certain way by a certain date, versus an intrinsic motivation is that, hey, I want to get to that place to look and feel and act and be the healthiest version of me. So your why for doing it has to be different. The why of being in shape to go on holiday is want to look good on the beach, want to look good in my bikini or my shorts or whatever else is. So that's your why, and that can be and there can be peer pressure and whatever else, and photos and Instagram, and people care a lot about, deeply care about all that stuff nowadays, you know. And then the intrinsic motivation, maybe that isn't as sexy as the other part. It's, you know, it's being like, oh, I want to be the fittest, healthiest version of me. I want to, you know, be able to live a long and fit and healthy life, and I want to feel good and look good, and, you know, have energy. I think that's a huge one. A lot of people like don't have energy because of the way that they eat.
And so with that intrinsic motivation, I know that you ask a series, well, you ask the same question. Is it 4 times deep? Five times deep.
5 times deep.
5 times deep. And I think this is so
Yeah.
powerful, and I would love you to share.
So we call it the 5 whys. So, you know, we might get a client and they say, hey, like, I want to lose, you know, 30 pounds. And we go, well, why do you want to lose 30 pounds? That's number one. And they might say, I want to look and feel better. And we're, okay, why do you want to look and feel better? That's number 2. And I'll be like, well, my clothes don't fit me the way they used to. And I used to feel a lot better when they fitted me a lot better. I'm like, okay, so why is that important to you? Well, normally there's a pause at this point, because now people have never gone
This deep.
Yeah. And we're 3 whys deep now. So when people get to that point, you know, there's not often a pause, and they can start to think of like, well, when I was 30 pounds lighter, my partner or my husband used to look at me differently, or used to do something differently, or I used to just not have all this negative self-talk when I look at myself in the mirror. And there's a lot of reasons. It's often unique to that person, and that's, you know, so I'm just giving random examples here of things that I've heard over the years, you know. So we'll get to that point, and then, you know, we can ask why again, and it can get a little bit emotional, you know, for people at that point. But it's an important one it's an important question to ask, because that first why it's important, oh, I just want to look and feel better, it's very surface level, you know what I mean? You just kind of say that to everyone. No one often goes, oh, why are you trying to lose weight? And they're just like, well, I talk to myself like shit in the morning, you know, when I look at myself in the mirror, or my husband doesn't give me the attention he used to. No, people don't openly say that, because it's a vulnerable thing to say, but often it can be the reason why people want to change in the first place, because things have changed and it's got to a point where it's so painful, and it's like, hey, I need to take that action. But sometimes the person themselves doesn't actually realize why that is. They just know they need to change or want to change. But it's important to ask why, and ask why 5 times around these things that you want to achieve, so you can have something that's got a little bit more, what's the word here? Like a little bit more weight to it.
Yeah,
got a little bit
more meat. You know, there's more meaning behind it.
Yeah, because, you know, when you try to achieve any goal, not just weight loss, there's going to be moments where it gets hard, and you're going to have to grit your teeth and push through. And if your why is surface level, it's just crap, rubbish, you'll give up. Or the chances are it's more likely to give up. But if your why is a little bit more deep rooted, you've got a deep reason why that you want to, you know, like, I can give you a couple here. I've had clients that have had parents have had health issues, and they're like, or they've died early, and they're like, I want to live a fit and healthy life because I want to be around for my kids. You know, they've got, so like that has become much more than like, oh, I just want to lose 20 pounds to look better.
Yeah.
They're like, I want to be around for my kids. You know what I mean? So like that's what they'll look at when those days get harder. It's got more meat to it. It's got more weight to it. And again, these are just a couple of examples. Normally your why will be very unique to you. But if you can get a really deep intrinsic why of why you need to take action, you know, you'll look great on the beach, but you'll also look great all the time, and you'll feel great all the time, because you've got a deeper reason why to keep taking action.
Can you give me an example like you gave there of somebody's parents dying early, or what other kind of whys are there? And can your why change? Because I think mine has.
Definitely. There's lots of different reasons why. Like I said, there's, you know, parent, husband. For some people, it's the job. You know, maybe they feel like they're not exuding confidence. What's the good word?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they don't feel like they're standing, you know, standing up tall with the shoulders back, and they feel like maybe they're getting overlooked in work, and it's affecting their confidence, and maybe they're not wearing clothes that they want to, and there's so many things that go through people's minds, you know. And just by getting to a place where they're feeling more comfortable within themselves, not for anyone else, but within themselves, that just kind of like projects outwards and starts to have like a positive impact on their lives. Mental health is a huge one. That's for me. I think we've spoke about this. For everyone, we might think for me, I work out and exercise for the physicalities in terms of how I look. But my why is that I lose my marbles if I don't train for a couple of days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So exercising for me is to keep me and keep me straight and narrow, to help me show up the best I can. So that's my why. That's why when I get to the point where it's like I'm tired, I haven't worked out for a couple of days, I've done a 16-hour day, I will make it a priority to go and exercise, or to go and stay on top, do things to stay on top of my health and fitness.
Yeah. I know that when I first started this journey, my why was about my marriage and my relationship with my husband, because I felt like, I've had a kid, my body's changed, he doesn't look at me in the same way anymore, blah, blah, blah. And then as I started to get results, I realised that he hadn't changed the way he thought about me at all. He still loved me exactly the same. He still saw me exactly the same. It was how I felt in myself. So then my why changed again. And I've written books about self-discipline and stopping procrastinating, and that became part of me and part of my values, like living my truth. So you guys make us write SMART goals, and I have it on my phone as my screensaver. Yep. And the M is for meaningful. It's for your why. And my why right now is because I want to live my truth. I don't want to be a fraud.
Yeah.
I write about self-discipline, and for me, self-discipline is about keeping promises to yourself. So I keep my promises to track my food, to move my arse, to drink the water, to get to bed early and do the boring, unsexy shit stuff that gets me results.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because as coaches, and this is what I wanted to lead on, you're able to then use that why to help motivate your clients, aren't you?
It helps them take action, because I think the process of losing weight, in terms of the actions that you have to take, is not complicated. It's relatively simple. Simple does not mean easy. And I always have to say that, because when I say simple, people go like triggered. Like, it's just like really get into that. Like, what do you mean weight loss is simple? It is simple, but it can be very difficult. But the actions that you have to take are, it is calories in versus calories out. You have to eat less and move more, but you have to find, and, when we tell people like, we need to track your food, eat more voluminous meals, get your steps up, get your movement up, exercise regularly, drink more water. People think that's really simple. That's really easy. And because they feel like it's that simple and easy, they put it off. Oh, if it was that, I'll just do it tomorrow. Or like, I don't need to do those things. Because of the simplicity of it, a lot of people think, it needs to be more difficult than that. If it was just that simple, then why haven't I done it? So then when someone comes along you see an ad on Instagram, or you see anything anywhere, it's like, take these 18 crocodile pills a day and do burpees upside down on a handstand and sit in a hot room for 60 minutes a day. People are like, that's it, that must be the secret to weight loss, because that seems more difficult. As this simpler option, it can't be that easy. You know what I mean? And just because it's simple does not mean it's easy at all. And I think that's, you would like to think it was getting better, but it's actually getting worse. It's just new fads and new crazes popping up all the time. And
we're always looking for that next thing, that instant thing. Now, this podcast is obviously about what is the best diet, and we have moved on there to your why, but it's important, because the reality is we've all got to eat.
We do.
It's like, I gave up alcohol a year ago, and there's a really good podcast. It's a BBC podcast called Hooked, and it's two girls. One is an alcoholic, one is a drug addict, and the two of them talk about their own addictions. And then there's one particular episode where they get this lady on who has a food addiction. She uses food to soothe. And the kind of conclusion of this podcast is the girl who's the alcoholic and the girl who's the drug addict talk at the end and say, oh my goodness, I've never thought of it like that. Because for me, being an alcoholic, it's quite easy to go, okay, I don't just drink anymore. And for me as the drug addict, I don't take drugs anymore. But that person still has to eat in order to survive and live their life. So it would be like the alcoholic said, it would be like me still having to do 3 shots of vodka every day. And the girl who's the drug addict said, and me doing 3 lines of cocaine every day. Like it's for some people, and I don't want to get into food addiction and this particular podcast, that's for another day. But we all still have to eat in order to survive. So food just becomes so intrinsic in who we are. We have so many stories wrapped up in food, don't we?
We do.
And like for your clients, often it links back to childhood, doesn't it?
There's a lot that links back to childhood, a lot of habits, behaviours. Like my mum used to be like, oh, if you did good, we'll give you a treat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or, my mum used to say, I don't know if this was a British thing, but like, finish all your food. There's kids in Africa who were starving.
Yes.
That was a thing that got said. So, there was a level. In fact, my mum didn't say that. I think it was my nan. My mum actually tried to encourage sometimes if you're full, don't eat all your food, but you still would. And there is a part of me that does that. There's one of my friends, Eddie, and I feel like, if he gets he could have 2 bites left on his plate and he'll just stop because he's full.
Wow.
Yeah, versus me, I'm just like, I've got to finish it.
I'm the same. I'm still struggling with that. And so I've got a little boy, he's 10 years old. I've only got the one. And me and my husband come to blows a lot around mealtime because my husband is, you need to eat all that. Clear your plate. You're not having a dessert until you clear your plate. Whereas because I've been that kid who was told that kids were starving and you had to eat all your dinner, I'm the person saying, no, if he's full, that's fine. He doesn't have to clear his plate because I know.
Kids are clever though, aren't they?
Yeah, well.
It's like, I'm not eating my vegetables because then I can have ice cream,
Yeah. I do.
Of course. No, I get it.
Listen, you're taking 3 more bites of broccoli before you get the Ben and Jerry's. There's a lot of that goes on, but there's also a lot of, whoa, hang on a minute. If he's full, he's full. Believe him.
Definitely.
And sometimes it will be, well, if you're full, no, you're not having anything else. And then if you come back to me in half an hour, I might let you have an apple or a bit of yogurt.
Yeah.
But I've really wanted to undo and unpick that because I know that I will be 40 this year. I still feel a sense of guilt when I scrape food and leftovers into the bin. It crushes me. I can't stand it.
I think a lot of this goes back to, if I think about my grandparents and then their parents, food was scarce. People didn't have a lot of food. People who were fat or overweight, like the fat king, they were
rich.
They were rich. They had a lot of money. It was a privilege to be overweight in essence. So my grandma used to, if she tells me, she'd get a chicken and she'd use every part of that. She'd use it for a roast. She'd use the bone. She'd make a soup. She'd do so many different things. They'd reuse tinfoil. They used to hang tea bags out on the flipping washing line to dry them out in the war.
No.
Yeah,
no.
they were poor. For them, how they've probably, my grandparents have maybe spoke to my parents is, eat all your food. Don't be bloody daft. You don't even know when you're going to get your next meal. So, there can be a lot of that's passed down through generations. And it's only really, if you look in the past, maybe 60 years, that food's just become so abundant, maybe a little bit longer than that. And so cheaply available and high palatable. Food is a science now where food they're making, these high palatable foods that explode and fit flavor in your mouth and you feel like you just want to keep going back for more and more and more. Like Oreos for me would probably be one. Yeah.
Is that your thing?
Oreos, M&Ms, I think Doritos and that cream dip. I just eat the whole bag. So for me, they're foods that I know are very highly palatable and I feel like I can't stop. So I have to really manage my portions or I won't have it in the house or I'll just buy it when I go the cinema or I'm out. If there's certain foods that I want to eat that I feel like I don't want to go back afterwards, a little hack that I have is that I'll have a bar of chocolate and say I wanted to go back for more, I normally would with that type of food. I'll have a hot drink with it and the hot drink after eating that bar of chocolate takes the taste out my mouth and my gums and my teeth, and I don't have that desire, the desire that is I want more, is gone afterwards.
So let me get this right. I need to. This sounds like a good thing. I've got to try this.
Okay.
So it's Friday night. It's movie night. The popcorn's there.
Yep.
The chocolate's there.
Yep.
Are you telling me that when I get to that point, I'm like, I can't really go and get another one.
Yeah.
I can have a hot drink, and it's going to take away that craving, possibly.
I just tend to bring the hot drink with me. So I'll have the bar of chocolate or the popcorn or the crisps, whatever you're going to have. I'll eat that and then I'll drink my hot drink afterwards. And it just takes the flavour of that chocolate or the popcorn out your mouth. And obviously, there's out of sight, out of mind as well. If it's just sat on the table next to you, half a bag left, the likelihood is that you're going to put your hand back in that bag. But if you bring a allotted portion out and you're just that's what I'm going to factor in, that's what I want to have, and then you have that and then have a hot drink afterwards, it can definitely help. There used to be a thing that I used to tell people to do with mouthwash, but it's not as practical to just have mouthwash after you've had a bar of chocolate. It's not as enjoyable either.
I've got mouthwash in my bag.
Have you?
For that reason.
Right.
So if I'm out and about and I'm thinking, because that's my danger zone when I'm in the car and I'm on my own and nobody's watching.
Yeah.
I'm just going to nip to the petrol station. I'm going to fill up my car and I'm going to buy all these sweets and crisps and things.
So why your car? Is that because there's a level like guilt or shame? What is it? Because you said there you're on your own as well.
It's my secret eating thing. So it's when I'm stressed.
Yeah.
Interestingly, my Body Smart coach, Kelly, has worked through this with me.
Yeah.
So we've chatted about this a few times. I tend to go to the petrol station. I have a radio show on a Sunday afternoon, and it's quite stressful because I swear a lot. And I'm not allowed to swear on this radio show. So it's like
You can swear, yeah.
I know. Fucking bugger. That was exciting. So it's like I'm on air. And I don't swear, and I watch all my P's and Q's, and I have to be mindful of there's legal stuff I've got to be aware of, and I feel like I'm like a fizzy bottle that's been shook up, and then I come off air, I get in my car, and I go and go to the petrol station and buy all of my favourite foods, and then I was sitting in a lay-by, eating them all, putting all the wrappers in the bin, and driving home. And Kelly was like, "Yeah, this isn't very good," but I'm aware of it. I'm aware of it now, so I've now changed it that I go to the petrol station to fill up my car on a Friday night, and I have a snack that I've already decided I'm going to buy from the petrol station and enjoy with my family on Friday night. And that has completely changed my life.
Yeah.
It's been amazing.
Amazing.
Just, it sounds really stupid. So identifying, okay, on a Sunday, I fill up for petrol after my show, I buy a load of food, I binge on it. But if I fill my car up 2 days before and get a snack that I enjoy with my family, I take that away. And I do message her as well to say, I'm on my way home. I'm not going to stop at the petrol station. Yeah, and it works. It's really good.
And that's why it's so important with anything to first become problem aware and admit that there's a problem. I think that's, a lot of people don't like to do that because it's like putting your hand up. It's like looking in the mirror and going, oh shit, like this is actually not serving me. But the second you admit that there's a problem, then you can start to take ownership to actively look for solutions. Doesn't mean that the solution that you'll try straight away will work, but you can start to look for different solutions, and you will find if you have that mindset of like, I'm going to keep trying new things till I find something that works, you will. And that's one thing that's now not a problem if you're able to keep taking them steps with multiple different parts of your health, fitness, and nutrition.
You talk about solutions there and identifying problems, and for anybody listening thinking, I'm going to start a diet starts Monday and all that mentality, there's that. You've got to be able to ask yourself, has what I've done in the past worked? And if it hasn't, why hasn't it? And I've got a friend who's recently split up. It's been their longest relationship. They've broken up with Slimming World.
Oh, no.
After 17 years of being... 17 years.
Wow.
17 years of being together with Slimming World, this person has gone, this obviously is not working for me. I can't do this anymore. I'm just going to listen to Julie moan about how many sins she had last week. And I think some people do go for the camaraderie and the community and the accountability. It does work for some people. But what advice would you give to somebody who's thinking, diet starts Monday? Because apparently we go on 2 fad diets a year, all of us, and we give them up after 6 days.
Which is crazy.
That's the
Which is crazy, isn't it?
Reality of it, yeah.
Yeah, you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different outcome. You just can't. And I think if you go into Slimming World for 17 years, that's abundantly clear. It's
a bit of an issue, isn't it?
It is.
It's a bit of a problem, that.
It is a bit of a problem. But yeah, maybe the community or whatever else. But still, it's not good. You need to be, I think a lot of people have also got to take, and this is a problem as well with the misinformation, the amount of information, like information overload, is you do have to take a level of ownership for what you decide to do. This is your body at the end of the day. These are your choices. No one forces you to put anything in your mouth. You know what I mean? Like, you have full control over that. But, when we go and choose a diet, especially if you're going to stick to it, 2 fad diets here and stick them for 6 days, you've got to do your homework. Like, have other people done that diet and seen success? Probably. How many of them? Like, have you been able to do your homework? Have you been able to read their stories? Have you been able to, are they anything like you? I think that's a really important one. Like, can you relate to that person at all? Because that's important as well, because, people are extremely different. And also, diets are super personal. Like what I like to eat and what you like to eat and what anyone else likes to eat out there is often very unique and personal to you. And that's fine. That's cool. You can still live a fit and healthy lifestyle and eat a certain way that you enjoy. But then if we're just going to go and look at this latest craze or this latest fad, you know, you've got to do your homework and you've got to understand of like, have other people that look like you or to a degree look like you being able to see success from it. And if not, it's probably not a great idea to do that. Versus I think a lot of people are just like, see the flash of, oh, lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks. And that desire of doing that, you know, people, you know, we were talking before, like people take ridiculous extremes to try and get fast results.
I have got some stats here, actually. There was a study done in the Independent newspaper, and apparently 16% of people would drink 12 glasses of lemon juice water a day to lose weight and not eat.
Yep.
16%. Other methods people wanted to adopt were eating ice.
Yeah, I heard that before. Or drinking cold ice before you go to bed. A cold icy water before you go to bed.
Does not make you want to get up and have a piss in the middle of the night, though? Or be freezing?
Maybe that's why you burn more calories, because you're getting up to go to the toilet more.
Get those steps in, guys. Yeah. Get those steps in. What about this one, then? Drinking olive oil between meals.
Oh, yeah, that makes complete sense. Why haven't I thought about doing that before?
Oh, that sounds horrific.
It does.
Eating jars of baby food.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know what that tastes like. Can't remember.
I do remember my kids.
A lot of mums do.
It's not nice.
Yeah.
It's not, honestly, it's not nice. There's literally nothing. It's just horrible. You're basically eating a tiny meal, aren't you?
That's just mushed up.
It's just mushed up in a tiny little jar. You might as well just get your dinner, mush it up in a food processor and put it in 10 tiny jars and eat them over the course of a week.
I'd imagine it's quite calorie dense though, because probably babies do need
possibly.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely going to help with your diet then, isn't it?
Tastes gross then.
Yeah.
And then finally, and we found this fact and actually recorded a brilliant video about this. 1 in 20 people would happily ingest a tapeworm to burn calories.
Which is, I didn't know what a tapeworm was when you first told me this. And then I Googled it. And if anyone's watching this, I'm sure we'll put a lovely image on the screen for you guys. But it's...
I'm starting to feel sick just thinking about it.
They're very long. And they're just... Yeah, they're not nice. The fact that people would want to eat them to lose weight is really sad, because it just shows how much people are struggling to lose weight and how much of a consistent struggle this has been for such a long period of time that you're like, I would eat something that comes out of my bum.
What did you found a picture of it? How long was it?
It's like 25 meters or 25 foot. Yeah. And that, very long, very, very disgusting. And it was someone was holding it in their hand over the toilet.
Let's just take a minute to know that they've shit that out and are holding it in their hands.
And someone.
Wow.
And 1 in 20 people would willingly eat that. Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. You talked there about the overwhelm and overload of information. What is the best diet when you put that into Google? Conjures up, are you ready for this? 704 million results. Is it any wonder people are confused?
No, it isn't, is it? There's a mass amount of information, and it's like, where do you go? There's so many quote unquote experts. There's so many people preaching this way or that way, and it's, when you go on Google or go anywhere else, I think that is a real struggle that people are getting. It's like, I'm following all these people or I'm reading all this stuff and I still don't know what to do. I've still not got any further along my journey.
I think going back to that study from The Independent, it said at least 53% of people admitted they didn't know which diets were sustainable, and a fifth, so 20%, didn't know where to get reliable and truthful information.
Yeah, it is a problem. Come follow us. You know what I mean?
Would you like to give out our Instagram handle and our advice while we're here?
At Body Smart Fitness.
Thank you very much. What gets on your nerves about diets?
Lots of things. I think a lot of people who you can see are just promoting a certain diet to line their own pockets. I think that really gets under my skin, because you're really harming people's health. You're taking the money off them. Yeah, you're harming their mental health, their relationship with food. some of these women that we've coached, they're really unhappy with how they look and feel on a daily basis. It really gets to them. And then I just see these people market to them that clearly just have no integrity and are happily to sell these plans or whatever else, quite knowingly that people aren't going to get results or stick to them just to line their own pockets. That, more than anything, probably gets under my skin, because I'm just like, if you're in the health and fitness industry and you're a coach, you do it for the people, you do it for the impact, you do it for the results and the way you can change someone's life. It's amazing.
And the ripple effect, you talk about this quite a lot, the ripple effect of not just changing their life, but their families' lives, their colleagues, their friends. Because it does have an impact on other people around them.
A huge impact. I've had husbands text me, I've not seen my wife this happy in ages. I think I read one of the messages the other day saying about, he said he always knew his wife was strong, but when he seen her come off the hospital and he was holding the kid in one hand, and we just get these overwhelmingly empowering messages, and that's why I do it, and that's why you see a lot of people in the fitness industry do it. But when you see these other people who are clearly just in it for the money and have got no guilt or shame and probably just sleep like a baby every night, and they're just taking money off people to sell them a quick fix that knowingly isn't going to get them results. That's probably the thing that gets under my skin the most.
Well, going back to that article, apparently 31% of people would look to their favourite celebrity to see what diet they were doing. And that leads me nicely onto, and you alerted me to this a few weeks ago, Holly Hagen. And for our American listeners or Australian, Holly Hagen, although in Australia it's big, is part of Geordie Shore. So Geordie Shore is the equivalent of Jersey Shore in America. Geordie Shore is quite popular in Australia, I know it is. And Holly Hagen was one of the stars of Geordie Shore. She'd been in it since she was 18. She is somebody who had built a massive social media following and therefore was paid by different brands and companies to promote weight loss products that sometimes she didn't even use herself. She was just promoting them. And she's come out recently and gone, do you know what? I've got to hold my hands up. I was wrong.
Yep.
I was completely wrong. And what I was promoting was wrong and keeping people stuck. And I know you watched that and were like, yes, somebody's telling the truth.
It was a breath of fresh air, because we knew you could see that people were doing this. Like every influencer who got a somewhat of a follow-on, who went on Love Island or went on, Geordie Shore, whatever else, who built up some sort of following or had some sort of influence, was then getting paid 3, 5, 7, 10 grand to do a shout out for BoomBod or a different product or another weight loss supplement or whatever it was. And like you said, most of them had never even tried it. Most of them were 20-second transformations. You know what I mean? It was like, don't put any makeup on, puff my stomach out, have a pelvic tilt, whatever else. And then it was just like, put some makeup on, do my hair, stand, twist my hips, suck my stomach in, take another, 30-day transformation. It's just like, you can just, for anyone who, for a lot of fitness professionals, we knew that was just
bullshit.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, bullshit.
I'm just going to say it like it is.
Complete and utter bullshit. So, for her to come forward, I think she went and done Precision Nutrition Level 1, which is what all our coaching team have done, which is a great qualification.
So that's a nutrition qualification.
A nutrition qualification.
And this is, when you say she, it's Holly Hagen, the girl from Geordie Shore. The reason why she's come out and said this is because she's got into health and fitness and had an epiphany and gone, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
All these things that I was peddling were just so bad and so wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the big problem with that is there's no accountability. Like how many people, when she promoted those products, did go and buy them and they did go through another fad of them to a year that they do, and did have that negative self-talk of, maybe it's just me. Maybe I can't stick to it. Maybe Holly can do it, but I can't. You know what I mean? And just like how many of those products were sold off the back of those influencers for people to go through yet another cycle of being on a diet and then coming off a diet, yet another cycle of doubting themselves and just, and I'm using their hard-earned money that they've got to put into this. So it is a problem. There is no regulation. I think they're starting to try and crack down on it a little bit, but it's a very hard thing to regulate, and it is a problem. It's a big problem.
Celebrity fitness DVDs as well are a bit of an issue. And this
Well,
links.
I don't know if anyone buys a DVD anymore, do they?
Well, Celebrity Fitness, but they were, for a time they were.
Yeah, they
and
were,
the reason why I bring this up is because this person will remain nameless, but I have seen the contract of somebody who was contracted as a celebrity to do a celebrity fitness transformation and DVD.
Mm-hmm.
And the contract is watertight.
Yeah.
And the meal, what they have to eat, was in the contract, which was about 900 calories a day's worth of food that they're supposed to stick to for this, 5-6 month period. Then they go and film the DVD. Then they do all the promotional trail, and they have to keep the weight off for a minimum period. And it's all in this contract. Otherwise, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
And I think it was it Scarlett Moffat who, for our American listeners, she is a UK reality star. She was on Gogglebox. I think she won, didn't she? I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And she was somebody who did those fitness DVDs, but then came out afterwards and said, I couldn't keep up. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. So she kind of like didn't get paid for it because she was like, I couldn't sustain it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And that's because she was essentially on a diet where she just wasn't eating enough for the output.
And it's a problem, and I think it's why people have really got to vet their social media following and follow people that make them feel good and are giving them good, honest advice and have got their best intentions, because marketing's never going away. The marketing's always going to be everywhere for everyone, but we can take some ownership of it, and we can take some ownership. We can definitely take ownership of who we follow and who we take advice to and who we listen to. And a lot of those celebrities, even though we might find them funny or like the way they look or watch them on TV, sometimes what they're maybe promoting online hasn't got your best interests at heart. It's maybe got theirs, or maybe they just haven't done their own homework and due diligence. They've just gone, oh, my manager said I can have 5K if I put this product up, and you've just gone, oh, okay, and you've just done it.
You've just done it.
So there's a little bit of that, but I think you have to, when you've got a mass following or a really big following, you do have to take a level of responsibility for that, but a lot of people don't. So then you have to take a responsibility yourself for what you're, who you're following and the information that you're taking in.
Well, talking of information, I know that there's one piece of information that you give out that tends to make people go, really? And you say, all diets work.
Yes.
Why is that? What? Well, if all diets work, why are we not all at our goal weight?
Yeah. So when we look at like every diet that's out there, Weight Watchers, Slim and World, Keto, Atkins, any of these diets that people go on, basically a diet, like a quote unquote diet, is a strategy, which in order to lose weight, they all have to adhere to the principle of weight loss, which is calories in versus calories out. So you have to adhere to an energy deficit or a calorie deficit, which is, consuming fewer calories per day than you burn. So anytime you've been on any diet and you've successfully lost weight, it's because you adhered to the principle that was a calorie deficit, an energy deficit. So what we have to look, a lot of people might be able to go on a ketogenic diet. A lot of people have gone on a ketogenic diet and have seen fantastic results and have been able to sustain them. And that's great. I'm all for that. Like I haven't got a fixed approach when it comes to putting anyone on a diet. My goal as a coach is always to put you on a diet that's going to allow you to not only get the results you want, but learn how to sustain them. So, we have to ask a lot of questions. Like, let's say someone goes, oh, I really want to do fasting. And it's like, okay, do you like breakfast? And they're like, I don't really mind it through the week. I could go without it. Okay. Do you like it over weekend? I do like it over weekend. I have it with my kids. We make pancakes. Okay. So, for me, instead of going, well, we're going to just do fasting 7 days a week. Hey, maybe we do it Monday to Friday, and you've got to be a little bit more mindful of your calories over the weekend because you want to have breakfast with your kids. So we'll have more of an approach of like, hey, that's a strategy that you can use to help you adhere to a deficit, but we're going to make it flex to work for your lifestyle. We're making the plan work around them instead of it being the other way around, which is often the problem when you go on a lot of these other diets. You have to fit into the plan.
Like taking Tupperware, 5 lots of chicken and broccoli around with you. It just doesn't work for everybody, does it?
It doesn't. So, all diets do work, but you have to be, when I say that, you have to look at the diet and be like, but can this diet work for me? Do I enjoy that way of eating? Like if I want to do a ketogenic diet, do you love a high fat, high protein diet next to no carbs? If the answer is no, then you probably shouldn't do it. If the answer is yes, go for it. I'm not gonna turn around and say don't do it unless it's gonna have maybe some, negative health benefits for you, which, we won't get into that too much. But, I think that's what you have to look at. Like, all diets do work, but it's like, is that diet going to work for you? And that's why I just always take it back to, like, do your homework, do your due diligence on the diet that you're about to take, to go at, and make sure that you do feel like, hey, like, I can adhere to that, I can sustain to that, and I feel like, oh, I am going to be able to not only lose weight on that diet, but I will then also be able to come off the back of that and have sustainable strategies that allow me to maintain my results.
So, talking of Body Smart, somebody might say to you, oh, it's calorie counting then, it's just calorie counting. What you're trying to say is essentially, really, every diet, that is obviously the foundation of it, whether you realise consciously you're counting calories or not. So whether you're doing points or whether you're doing sins or it's a green day, or I don't know what the terminology is anymore.
There's a really good quote for this, and it's like, you don't have to count calories, but calories still count. And that's how it is. So, you can manage your portions and lose weight. You can go on a Weight Watchers diet and count your points. You can go to Slimming World and call food sins, which God knows why you'd want to do that. But you can do all them things and not count calories, but calories still count. And if you're not losing weight, it's because you're not adhering to the principle of weight loss, which is a calorie deficit or an energy deficit. So, yes, we do have our clients track the calories, but that's to educate them about food and to empower them to make decisions that are going to serve them. So, like, if you just go off, this is a good one, and anyone who's listening can go and do this with friends or family. Go and ask the next 10 people that you meet, what does healthy eating mean? Ooh. And you will get 10 completely different answers. And that is where lies the problem. So, people will go, oh, I'm just eating really healthy, but I'm not losing weight. But you don't know how many calories you're eating, you know what I mean? And so the reason we have clients track the calories in the beginning, at least, is so that they can start to become more educated around food, around the foods that they're eating, the calories in the foods that they're eating, the macronutrients in the food that they're eating, which are the protein, carbs, and fat. Will also help educate them about, like, the sugars in foods, the fiber in food, the micronutrients in food. And, that's a skill to learn. And that's, a lot of people can feel maybe quite overwhelmed about that in the beginning, but the goal is to do that for a long enough period of time that you then don't have to do it. And a lot of people are like, oh no, I'd never get to that place. But I just take it back to, there's a lot of things in people's jobs nowadays that when they first started were super overwhelming, and they would just used to look at the superior in that job and be like, how do they do that without even blinking an eye? And it's just reps and sets. They've put in the time and the effort to learn about that job, and now it's effortless for them. Like, for me, when I first started tracking food, I had a pen and paper, I had a scales. There wasn't on MyFitnessPal, or not one that I used. And I used to look at the back of the packet and it'd say pay 100 grams, and I'd weigh out 60, and I'd have to do the calculations myself. I haven't tracked food in 5-6 years now. I don't have to. I did that, and I used MyFitnessPal for 2 or 3 years, and it gave me such a great baseline understanding of food that now I can manage my portions and, like, eat a lot more intuitively because I understand food. The problem is a lot of people go, oh, tracking calories is obsessive, and, like, I don't want to do that, or that could give me an eating disorder. And, you can blow things out of context in any way. And I think, tracking calories and managing your portions, back to one of my favorite quotes, what gets measured gets managed. By having that data, it allows you to look at it and be like, am I eating foods that have got too many calories in them? Do I need to change my portions? Do I need to eat a little bit less of that and a little bit more of this? You can start to analytically look at the food that you're eating and start to take steps to have it in a way that serves you moving forward, whether that's towards your weight loss goals, your health goals, whatever it might be.
So to summarise this, and you mentioned MyFitnessPal there, what advice would you give to somebody? Because I've said this a few times. Oh, diet starts Monday. Somebody's saying to themselves, my diet starts Monday. I want to lose weight. Where do they start? What is the best place for them to start? What advice would you give?
The best place to start is to go and go and follow us. First off, you know what I mean?
You're allowed to say that. This is your podcast,
If you listen to this, you've probably followed our content and seen the array of different stuff that we put out there. again, no, like we'll never say there's a one size fits all. We might push like back against keto and, you know, not eating carbs and that type of stuff because, you know,
why is that though?
Because again, a lot of people are looking at a ketogenic diet as the quick fix to lose weight. I'll go on keto and lose lots of weight.
And there's an end date to
and
it.
there's an end date,
Right.
you know, and then they go, oh, right, well, I want to actually eat carbohydrates and pizza and bread and bagels and all the lovely...
Just potatoes, you know.
I love a good potato.
I do. Chips,
So-
jacket potato. Ooh, nice.
And again, all that does is you go into a restrictive way of eating. You do it for a lot of the amount of time. And then you go, I don't want to keep doing this. So you revert back to old eating habits because you've never learned to factor in carbohydrates. And then the weight slowly starts coming back in because you don't know how to manage those portions. So and then that just puts you in another cycle of a yo-yo, which is really bad for your hormones, really bad for your fat cell. There's a lot of things that become very negative off the back of that. So again, when you're looking at like diet starts Monday or what should I try or what should I start, I would really be saying like, do your homework. Look at somebody else that maybe is similar to you. They don't have to be exactly like you, but try and find somewhere where there's women or guys who look like you, have got a similar story to you, maybe a similar job, like similar amount of like kids or whatever it is, like, you know, similar hours in whatever it is, it doesn't really matter, but just like a similar life to yourself where you can relate to their story. And then if there's a lot of people who have done that diet strategy that have got a similar story to you, that's a good place to start. Still do your homework, still be like, could I sustain that? Could I do that? It might seem difficult or hard, but that's a really good place to look and start.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And that rounds us up nicely. So, diet starts Monday. If it does, do your homework, download MyFitnessPal, and follow Body Smart Fitness.
Pretty much.
Ace.